Well, hello and welcome back. Most people are aware of the saying, be yourself. And a common reply to this is, how can I not be myself? Which is an intriguing question. I side with the concept that one cannot always and genuinely be themselves simply because acting or not doing or saying what one really intends on doing is a form of acting out or doing something that you really don't want or don't intend to do. So naturally, your intentions become an adaptation to your current environment. However, this is where it gets complicated. Your reaction to the scenario could be perceived to be the real you since it became your intention according to the particular situation. So now the be yourself storyline becomes a double edged sword and it can cut both ways. My take on this is that life can be quite intricate and complicated, as we all know, and your reaction to this particular stimulus, which prompts a reply or reaction, may surprise you as you find yourself winging it. And depending on the degree of the complexity of the predicament, the response or reaction may cut across the grain of what you think or intend to do or say. Your intuition at the moment may play a key role, and there's always the possibility of the you think you know and trust does not react in the way you perceived you would. Your you can become, in the moment, a stranger, an imposter. So, in conclusion, the degree of complexity in the moment can turn your you into someone you may have never met before. And to be honest, I treasure these moments since you perceive both the complexity and the adaptability of the human spirit. The lines, borders, self knowledge, and perceptions you have of yourself can be blurry, and perhaps the real you exists in your mind, and you may be much more complex, and they may be much more complex and intricate than we realize as we stumble along here. All right, I'm going to do something a bit different here. I'm going to do some of Buddy Hackett's jokes that he used to do so well on Johnny Carson. So here goes. So this guy walks into a bar and he sits next to this beautiful, magnificent woman, and they exchange greetings and small talk. And then she says to the guy, for $200, I'll do anything you want. And the guy naturally is flabbergasted and hesitates and thinks for it a few seconds, and he says, paint my house. Next joke. A guy walks into a bar, a common theme with Buddy Hackett and a lot of the jokes from back in the day, and he orders up a shot of whiskey. And he has some problems with his neck, which I'll start doing like this. And then he orders up another shot of whiskey and then another shot. And the bartender notices his problem and tells him, there's a chiropractor a couple of seats down. Maybe he can help you. And he says, no, 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 I don't want to bother the guy. And he thinks for a moment and says, okay, what have I got to lose? So the chiropractor comes over, snaps his head back in one shot, and the guy's ecstatic. And he shouts out, after all these years, I can move my neck. I can't believe this. This is fantastic. So he says to the bartender, give me another shot. And he takes a shot, goes like this. I hope you get it. I thought it was funny. And according to Buddy Hackett, a horse says, eh, but a Jewish horse says, eh. And finally, so this guy shoots a duck and it lands on a farmer's property. So the farmer said that it landed on my land, so it's mine. And the hunter says, he shot it, so it's his. So they decide to settle, and the farmer suggests that they have a contest in which they will kick each other in the groin, and whoever does more damage gets to keep the duck. They agree, and the farmer goes first, and after he delivers his blow, and the hunter falls on the ground, writhing in pain, yelling in agony, and then the guy slowly gets up and says, it's my turn. The farmer says, nah, it's okay, you can keep the duck. My wife enjoys hiking. However, she's had both hips replaced and has arthritis in one of her knees, so hiking is fine if there isn't too much of an incline or decline in the terrain. And she runs the risk of falling, but if we do encounter these struggles, I have to go ahead to see if I think it's safe and, of course, return. And don't get me wrong, she will take her chances and deal with the ups and downs. But she sometimes has to grab hold of my arms or my waist while we're hiking, which turns into I'm not really hiking or simply I'm in the woods with a handicapped woman into her hiking, but for me, it's hiking for her. But for me, it's turned into volunteering for community service. I know I kid about my wife all the time, but don't get me wrong. She doesn't let much get in her way. She can deal with pain as well as anyone. Here's a typical husband and wife situation. Oh, honey, could you get me the vacuum? It's downstairs and you don't need to get it now. So, being the somewhat obedient husband, I start heading downstairs and she shifts gears on me and says, why are you getting it now? And I'm like, well, for one, I'm not feeble or handicapped and maybe I'd like to do this now. Would you like me to make an appointment for this? The simplest thing turns into an argument, though please remember, I'm not always disparaging my wife. Married couples always encounter some strife and turmoil, and she's a hardworking woman, very determined, capable, and focused. I just like to, you know, bring her into these videos. So, anyways, back to the vacuum. So my experience informs me that if this request should happen again, and it will, I should then ask her, when exactly will you be needing the service of the vacuum that is downstairs and very possibly should be upstairs since we do most of our living up here? I know I'm get a little out of control here. We do love each other though, I think. And this is from the writer E.M. Choran. I know I've used him before. And he goes, I prize so highly among these defeated people responsible, as I have said, for my education. Among others, they revealed to me the stupidities inherent in the cult of truth. I will never forget my comfort when it ceased to be my business. A master of every era, I could at least explore, or last explore, a world of appearances, of frivolous enigmas. Nothing more to pursue except the pursuit of nothing. The truth? An adolescent fad or symptom of senility. Yet out of some trace of nostalgia or craving for slavery, I will seek it, unconsciously and stupidly. A second's inattention is enough for me to relapse into the oldest, the most absurd of prejudices. And I saw this ad for Jeep recently, and their catchphrase is, there's only one. That can't be good for business. They only have one Jeep? Bad joke. I have some interactions that were clever. The first is from As Good as It Gets, where an admirer asked Melvin Udall, played by Jack Nicholson, how do you write women so well? And Melvin says, I think of a man and I take out reason and accountability. And from the Marx Brothers movie Duck Soup, Rufus T. Firefly, played by an inimitable Groucho Marx, asks Mrs. Teasdale, played by Margaret Dumont, not that I care, but where is your husband? And Mrs. Teasdale replies, why, he's dead. To which Rufus replies, I bet he's using that as an excuse. And lastly, from the movie The Man Who Came to Dinner, Nurse Preen, played by Mary Wicks, informs the arrogant Sheridan Whiteside, played by Monty Woolley, that you mustn't eat candy, Mr. Whiteside, it's very bad for you. And he replies, my great Aunt Jennifer ate a whole box of candy every day of her life, and she lived to be 102. And when she was dead for 3 days, she looked better than you do now. I'll stop here.